number one, you're exclusive for a brand, whatever, a Formula One, and you are only able to do that. And secondly, you have also the exclusivity for a sponsor. So 2 times you are stuck with a contract or doesn't allow you to do. You can only do one thing at a time. Yes, you can win, but it's the group effort who it's fascinating. It's emotional because you are in the same boat with a lot of other people following a project, and when you reach the goal or it's winning, you meet incredible people. And I must admit that I'm very much in favor to say today that they do the biggest part of the job, but they are fascinating people behind a team and the different components of a team. Through the different eras, you always had those who have a little plus on the others, and clearly who represent their own era. Fangio is one of them. Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton.
My next guest is a legend in every sense of the word. I had the chance to spend some time with him in New York City after he traveled the world to get there. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But Jacky, what a pleasure to have you on Cars and Culture. Welcome to the program.
Well, it's nice to share some moments with what I consider the most important people in motor racing. That means the fans for motor racing, whatever the category is. The key of the success, it's them, and they are the referee if an event it's well organized, if the program it's exciting. And so, yes, there is a lot of time that you have to consider to say due to them and exchange, whatever, they are your own fan. But the most important, it's the fan of motor racing, United States or Europe or whatever. Fans of motor racing are the most important one.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing these days. I would love to know what you're doing. I know you're in Monaco today, but I would love to know what you're doing now to occupy your time.
Well, I must admit that I'm very privileged because I'm still active.
Very active.
That's it, and very active. Normally, when you do some sport, even if you are quite good, you have to go back to on the earth, and then you disappear slowly in the sort of anonymat in French. But amazingly, yes, as you said, I'm busy. I'm busy because I choose to live the present and what is remaining of the future of already a quite busy life. I had many lives. But actually, to answer your question, yes, I'm a brand partner of Genesis. For those who don't know who Genesis here, they are part of the group of Hyundai and Kia, and that's their luxury brand. And I'm there for a number of years. And also, I have been an ambassador for the watches industry and jewels. It's Chopard, and I belong to the community of Chopard. I'm almost a member of the family for the last 36 years.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Incredible. How did the Genesis relationship happen?
Well, the fantastic offer from Genesis, it's due to their designer, who is also Belgian.
Luke.
We know each other, Luc Donkerwolk. We know each other for a very long time. I mean, really long time. I would say at least 40 years. That's for sure. But it happened that when he was young, he has already designed cars in a cartoon called Michel Vaillant, who is a star on the European side. And this cartoon, I was the first one. The first individual part of the story was real in it. The only embarrassing problem in those days, this famous Michel Vaillant was always winning all the races and was belonging to the community, but always finishing second. Anyhow, we met a number of times. We have been together for another brand in the past. Luc Donkerwolk was the man of the year last year in France, and he invited me to join him. We met. I was really lucky. We met because I was coming back from United States, the day match and everything match, and from there on, he has asked me to visit Korea. I had nothing in mind, but I suppose he had already something in mind at the time. I discovered Korea. I discovered the book written, Born to This Land, written by the founder of Hyundai. And these people are ready for action, especially in United States. Clearly, the referee of their success are those who have choose some Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis in United States. But the fantastic record about that is clearly the fact that they started the pony in Korea 50 years ago, and actually they are number 3 in the world, producing incredible cars. And Genesis, it's 8 years old, and they produce 1 million cars a year. That means altogether 5,500,000 cars. But there is no but. The attraction is to discover how proud the Koreans are for their country. Right. That's the permanent goal. No question. It's, of course, they like to work a lot. They work a lot, but there is always in the background the flagship of their country. And also, I'm convinced that the Confucian traditional theory, for them, it's a key with 6 or 7 principles who are very important to play a role in the social life. So they are different. They have one goal. They have no time, not much time. They're always ready for action. They have quick decision, and I guess that's the reason why they are performing so well in the world today. So you have to count them. And then I'm the lucky one who can be their brand ambassador. That means their ambassador, their consultant, and the one who works for the community of Hyundai, Genesis, Kia.
Incredible. You could probably never have imagined being in a position like that.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why I was chosen in the early days for Chopard. Also, I must admit, I was also an ambassador for Volkswagen 15 years ago already, or more. I mean, maybe, yeah, probably 15 years. And that's why clearly I am deeply touched by all those who made who I am in motor racing, and who deserved the merit of my success, because probably you understand that the driver, it's only the top of the iceberg, but the job is done underneath.
Right.
And when you speak about an iceberg, 90% it's done underneath the level of the water. That means in the shade, but there you've got a bunch of people who work with dedication, where they are full of passion, they are motivated, their expertise is incredible, and drivers at the end of the chain, this chain, are those who benefit when they win, have the trouble when they don't. But yes, I have that incredible chance, as I said earlier on. Number one, for sure, to be alive, because I'm one of the drivers who did the most or the longest mileage of motor racing in different categories. Yes, I survived to that and few accidents. And I like to say it's not a matter of talent, it's a matter of luck. But also, when you have good cars, real good cars, winning is reasonably easy.
Let's talk a little bit about your career. It's interesting. I've read that you really didn't want to be a race car driver, yet you ended up being legendary as a car control specialist in the rain or in dry conditions with underperforming cars. You had huge success, but you really had a limited interest in the sport until your father bought you a motorcycle. And he was a journalist too.
How do you know that? Yes. My favorite word, most of the time, when someone asks me to tell them an advice, I always say, dream, dare, and don't give up. These three words to me are the most important parts, especially when you are young, where you feel you are immortal, and when you don't calculate the difficulties to reach a goal. But yes, I wanted what I would have loved to do when I was a young kid. It was to be a gardener. My ambition was to be a gardener or a gamekeeper. I love nature. I spend a lot of time in the nature, and I thought that was going to be my future. I remember.
A gardener or a
gamekeeper.
Or a gamekeeper. Yeah.
But I must admit, when I was young, very young, I've met, my parents had Fangio at home, for example, and few others, and Sterling Moss and Gonzalez, stars. And my parents took me once to one of the first Belgium Formula One Grand Prix, maybe 53. They took me there. I gave the flowers to Fangio, who was the winner in those days. But I asked them not to take me again to a motor race because I think it was very boring.
Oh.
Alors, that's one part. The second part, I often say, to become a race driver, one of the hardest parts is to convince the parents to let you do motor racing, because the parents, of course, it's to they are looking for the autonomy of their children in the future. And they say, okay, you can do it, but you wait until you have done your college, your school, your university, until you are totally in full autonomy. In my case, I must admit I gave a hard time to my parents because my interest for school was very limited. I think I was a peaceful guy, definitely, but I always loved to stay on the last bench, near the window, near the radiator, because in winter, it's much warmer when you're next to the window. You don't disturb anybody, but clearly in June, July, the exam time was giving me a lot of hard time with my parents. So was really very unhappy about my success. And my teacher always say to my parents, how he's so intelligent but so lazy. Well, it's a very polite way in Europe to say that your son is a total disaster. So that gave them some. Yes, but that's the reality. It's a very polite. They were saying he's going to be roughly bad at everything. So it was very embarrassing. Anyhow, the philosophy of my parents to encourage me to go to do better because they were anxious about my future. After the anger, they were always much mover, and they say, what can we do to encourage him to do better? And as I was a thief, I say always I will do better, but then I receive a motorcycle. That's a long story to say. I receive a motorcycle, and with that motorcycle was what we call a sport called trial in Europe. I must admit that rather than being last, I was in the middle of the group, and I had the first smell of the podium.
Yeah.
And that has encouraged me to discover a position that was totally unusual for me. That's to go on the podium. And then the discovery of the podium was very attractive to me. So, so I started to race as an hobby. And I must admit also motorcycle was what I felt could be an option for me in the future doing, because when I was young at the age of 60s, I was doing enduro race, trial, and also a speed at the same time with a 50cc. And it was a nice time. I was quickly a works driver for a German motorcycle company who is called Zundap. And then that's how I put my first feet in competition. It was motorcycle, and I must admit it was a lovely time. And then the rest in those days is the alignment of the stars.
Yeah.
The alignment of the stars speaks about the mystery of the timing, the mystery of the people you meet and who can change your life. Then someone came with a car, and then I drove a little car just for pleasure, hill climb and a little bit of rallying and a little bit of speed. But my first race, I crashed into a tree, so my new toy was already almost totally destroyed. But anyhow, it was in front of TV, so they present me as a lucky guy who didn't hurt himself trying to kiss a big tree, who didn't move at all. But and then step by step on my path, there were people who have changed my life and who play a key role into motor racing in these days. And to do the kind of achievement you have with delicacy told me few minutes ago. The possibility to do all sort of racing, and with a relative success. And it's clear that it's not only me in those days. At the time, what you have to know, in the 60s, whatever motorcycle racing, we were more mercenaries in a way, but amateurs, because everybody was able to do everything at the same time. That's the reason a lot of people like, number one, no sponsor. Sponsors were not existing. It was technical sponsors who had no impact on the drivers. The money was not the main goal. The sport was the main goal. There were a lot of private team and people racing in every direction and many opportunities. The second one, no exclusivity at all. That means if you are lucky, you drive, for example, my path was all the categories in motorcycle, saloon car racing, endurance car racing, Formula One with Ferrari when I was maybe 23 years, long distance racing where I think I scored the largest. We scored the largest number of wins in long distance. That's how I met Carl Haas, and I did the Can-Am, and we won with the Can-Am. And then the last part, it's country races, rally cross country races like the Paris-Dakar, off-road racing and everything. But what I want to say, it's fairly common in those days to do everything. That doesn't... Yeah. The people from my generation were able to score a lot of different races. That doesn't exist today anymore because, number one, you're exclusive for a brand, whatever, a Formula One, and you are only able to do that. And secondly, you have also the exclusivity for a sponsor. So 2 times you are stuck with a contract or doesn't allow you to do, you can only do one thing at the time, roughly. So I'm a kind of dinosaur from an era who doesn't exist anymore. Yes, my biggest success probably, with the help of my guardian angel, is to stay alive. And that's the reason why, approaching to a quite important age, I'm still active and I still have some goals with a brand like Genesis or with Chopard. I live the present and the future remaining. And I think that's just a privilege.
Yeah. Let's talk about the privilege of driving in Le Mans and the fact that you have won the race 6 times, the second highest of all time. And in 1969, you won with a Ford. And in fact, that was at the time that Ford versus Ferrari and all of that action was really playing out. I'm sure, Jacky, there are some fantastic stories that you could tell about Shelby and Ferrari. Tell me 1 or 2 stories that you remember from the Shelby Ferrari days.
Well, the people you are mentioning, I have known them. Really, I have known them. When I was a young driver, and I could not imagine at the time what I was going to score in the future. Yes, I met Carroll Shelby. Yes, I met Enzo Ferrari. Yes, I met Steve McQueen. Yes, I met all these people in the middle of what they called, I mean, you know the film Le Mans and all these things. I've lived that era. For example, it makes me think, just to explain what I was telling you before. In 68, I was driving Formula One for Ferrari. But at the same time, I was driving for Ford. You cannot imagine that. You cannot imagine that today.
It wouldn't happen today.
Later,
No.
I was driving Formula One and also BMW for in Formula Two. You see, the sport was a different goal. It has some impact industrially, clearly, but Ferrari versus Carroll Shelby, or even bigger, Ford against Ferrari, for all the reason you know. Clearly, Le Mans was the race to win. I was at Le Mans in 66, so I've lived the success of Ford in 66 with Dan Gurney, the great Dan Gurney, and Chris Amon. I've lived all that. And later on, a little bit later on, in 69, I belong really to the racing community at high level. And when you mention 6 races at Le Mans, you know it's like playing the number 6 at the casino. You need the right car, you need the right co-driver, you need the right team, and you need so many things. That's why most of the time, if you have an entry at Le Mans, winning one time would have been fantastic, because that's the race to win. And when you win 6 times, you understand easily how grateful you are to those you have met during that time. And that gives me the opportunity to tell you that from all these years, it's the humans who are the most important.
Yeah.
Yes, you can win, but it's the group effort who it's fascinating. It's emotional, because you are in the same boat with a lot of other people following a project, and when you reach the goal or it's winning, you meet incredible people. And I must admit that I'm very much in favor to say today that they do the biggest part of the job, but they are fascinating people behind a team and the different components of a team. They're all stars. And with your question now, yes, I'm very sentimental about these people. And if I ever regret, definitely, it's not having had the opportunity to spend more time in the heavy program we had to follow them all. But I'm very grateful to them, and at the same time, to them, and also the fan of motor racing, clearly, because they are the referee for an organization, for those who organize races or different type of categories. When the fans are there of motor racing, if there is a large crowd, you know you're on the right direction. And drivers and team and cannot live if those are not there. So the idea is to, with the time running, to become more human. And the notion of the being together, you understand that's the key of everything in life. And I must admit that obviously today, clearly we live some very difficult moment or didn't exist 50 years ago. There are difficulties on the planet in every direction. So more than ever, we have to be together today, and we have to share those who are suffering. So the basic idea is to try to improve with the time, nonstop. That's my goal. I don't say I'm perfect. I'm far away from that. But I love the idea to improve, and also to avoid to be useless. That's why I love the idea of being with Genesis so much. Wow, what a privilege to have the age I have and still be in the real life.
Jacky, your final Formula One race was in 1979 at Watkins Glen, and that was at a time when popularity of Formula One in the United States was very different than it is today. How do you compare that time with today in what's happening in places like Miami and Las Vegas and Austin for the United States interest in Formula One?
Well, you are right. You are right. Yes, Formula One had a certain success, but as far as United States was concerned, clearly the Indy type of racing was the goal for the Americans. When we raced in the 60s, 70s, it was Watkins Glen's United States Grand Prix. And there was your neighbors in Canada, Mosport, Mont Tremblant. They were the active Formula One commitment with motorsport. Yes, the interesting part is to live the future and to avoid to compare two different eras. You can compare goals mathematically and everything, but it's a mistake globally to judge yesterday and today. And I think you don't have to be nostalgic about the past. We live although risky, we live a fantastic period of time and we were privileged to live all that. Today, yes, it's another life. And I'm sure those who do it today, they are also very pleased of what they are doing. And you're right to say that you have Las Vegas today, you have Austin, you have Miami, and maybe more in the future. I don't know, because the company who is leading Formula One today has plenty of new goals about the worldwide championship. Clearly, with the 3 American Grand Prix, why not a 4th one? The demand to join Formula One is very important from all the countries in the world, but also, with 24 Grand Prix today, it's clear that we have reached a limit, because the limit is the human behind the cars, the mechanics, the transport to go from one place to the other one. Yes, to join, for new countries to join Grand Prix racing, it won't be easy, but we can speak about some continent missing, for example, to be a worldwide championship. It would be Africa, and I know there are some people in Africa who are very interested to join in Grand Prix racing, and also I don't know if I can mention Liberty Media, but they seem to be open to have a global worldwide championship. And with that philosophy, I think you really can go ahead and having you have fantastic opportunities to meet new people and to give some certain countries the chance to join and to have a global view on politically and demographically and to people who deserve to be in the game.
Give me an idea, Jacky. Who is the racer today whom you wished you would have been able to race against?
That's an impossible that's an impossible question, but I think Fangio, 5 times world champion, in the early days where motorsport was considered only as a sport, where the commercial impact, the economy, the money, and was unexisting in a way. To me, Fangio remained sportively the number one. But also at the same time, through the different eras, you always had those who have a little plus on the others, and clearly who represent their own era. Fangio is one of them. Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
I stop on Lewis Hamilton because Lewis Hamilton is the first. He's 2 times good in a way. He's very good because he won 7 championships. He was the first man of his community being in Formula One, the best of the world. And the second part, who is for me the number one, yes, he cares about the other people on this planet. He's just an outstanding driver, but he was the first one being involved in Black Lives Matter, for example. I mean, he really went into it, and many other. In my opinion, the human aspect of Lewis Hamilton is probably even more impressive than the 7 championship and the historic record of wins and laps time and podium and everything. Yes, he made something that nobody did before him. Yes, today you have Max Verstappen. This race of people who have the little plus, they are an inspiration for those around them more than the others. Being an inspiration, it's already a success. But Lewis, at the end, frankly, and I'm sure he will defend an African country one of these days to have a Grand Prix on the African continent. But the human aspect of Lewis Hamilton, to me, it's outstanding. Nobody did what he did before in our sport.
Right. Yeah, the human element. Yeah. Is the state of how would you describe the state of racing today? How would you describe where Formula One is today? You said earlier that it's incredibly different than the way that it was when you were obviously driving, and it's very exclusive and it's very sponsor driven, and the calendar is full of races. So how do you describe today's 2024 Formula One?
Well, we live a different era because we are in the digital world. Technically, you can live every single race from the cockpit, from outside, whatever it's in Australia, United States, China, Japan, whatever. You can live your race in an incredible manner. It's at the top because the British Grand Prix, it's over 400,000 400,000. You used to it. I'm sorry. You used to it because Indy, at the time, there were 400 people already on the oval, 400,000 people. But today, in Formula One, there are every year there are new goals. That means 380,000 people, 350,000 people, 410 at the British Grand Prix. And some people say it's due to Netflix, the series Netflix on Formula One. But the amazing or interesting things is to know that those who follow Grand Prix today are between 25 and 40. There is some young people coming.
Younger demographic.
Yes, that's very interesting. And that's why I call them a referee, because when you fulfill the grandstand and everybody comes, clearly the credit is for these people who love Formula One. At the same time, clearly, who knows what's going to happen in the next 15 years? Not me. I have no idea what's going to happen. Plus, minus, clearly there is an environmental. There is the sustainability of the world we live and all these things. But Formula One is already doing using hybrid solutions. And yes, a lot of technology. I heard that they are going to biofuel, synthetic fuel, and all these things. Oh, clearly, it's going to be our future. And the future is probably, I'm not an expert on the subject, but it will go in different directions. Hybrid for sure, maybe hydrogen, maybe electricity. There will be still some thermic engines, clearly, depending from location where you are. But there will be different type of technologies for sure in the future, including fossil oil for certain group but at the moment it looks good, provide the world goes well. And I cannot say at the moment, no one can say at the moment that the world go well. And everybody can be impacted, because whatever you go, you need a world in peace to be successful, and for that you need the tolerance between the countries, the people, or leaders, and so on. So, but at the moment, yes, be positive. It looks good, but it will depend a lot from what's going to happen on the planet in the coming years.
Final question for you, Jacky. When you think back on your career, what is maybe your proudest moment? What is your greatest achievement? What do you think of as your special moment?
Alors, I was tempted to say it's a very private question because it's not too easy to understand. But is to remain. Yes, the world faced a number of difficulties, but globally, I'm amazed by the quality of the human, or still I'm surrounded by. I love the people I have met. And as I said, I regret not having spent more time with these unique people around me. Globally, alors, the best period of my life, amazingly, the most positive period of my life, Amazingly, it's not that we have won 46 long distance races, including Le Mans. It's not to have won so many races in Formula One. It's not to have won the Can-Am. It's not to have been successful with Formula 2 saloon car racing. The best part is off-road racing, who include the Paris-Dakar.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that? It's because, and it's not because it's the hardest race in the world, in my opinion, because in my time it was three weeks long, roughly 12,000, 14,000 kilometers in the desert, in the middle of nowhere in Africa. It's because you have the occasion to realize who you are and the value that you have. The value, you have to come back. You cannot cheat when you are in the middle of the desert. You come back on Earth, and you know what is your own value. That means we are very, very, very little. But in the middle of that desert, you meet people who survive constantly, year after year, in the difficulties, and their solidarity and the way they are welcoming you, although they have nothing, you have to face the reality of the reason why we are on this planet, where we are coming from, where we are going. But you have only one position, is to be extremely humble and granted to live on this planet. And basically, I say that the most important part of my life, that instead of having only one goal, that's winning races or to trying to be one of the best in these races, you come from a 10-degree vision into the hope to have an 180 angle vision. And then the possibility to see the people around you and to have the possibility to hear everyone around you and to realize the difficulties that some people have in their life. We are 8 billion or 7 billion now. We have all a different story. But to have a vision of 180 degrees, to have the wish to improve non-stop, to try to become better, although we have some weakness, that was a huge step for me. And that's the best part of my life.
Wonderful. Jacky Ickx, what an honor to have you on the program today. I just want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for sharing your stories, sharing your humility and your passion for not only racing, but for the world that we live in.
Thank you very much to you, and thanks to have listened patiently to my stories.
Of course.
Let's be together, Jason. Yes, on this planet.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Jacky.
Thanks to you.